Thank you, Jeff. Coach, morning. With his surgery on Tuesday, what are the chances of Jacob playing this year or getting a medical red shirt?
I haven't really thought about any of that. I've been more concerned with his well-being.
Agreed. And then what is Javier going to play Monday?
Uh, Not sure yet.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go to our next question. We'll go to Dayon Dunlap, please. Dayon, please go ahead.
How's it going, Coach Sampson?
Good morning.
Good morning. With Emmanuel, with last year playing with Jamal, he was primarily ball dominant, and Emmanuel's role was a lot spot up. Will he be on ball and playing pick and roll a lot more this year? Kind of see his offensive role expand instead of being so much catching and shooting. We play more off the dribble, have his offensive role expand this year.
Well, he did a lot of that last year, which is why he got to the free throw line so much. He was probably our of our wing guys, um, our best driver. I mean, he was good at that last year, but he will continue with that this year. But yeah, he'll be in pick and rolls more. Um, you know, that we put him in more in practice specifically because I think a lot of nights, the guy guarding LJ and the guy guarding Emmanuel, I read those matchups a lot through our scout reports and our film study to see if there's a something there we can take advantage of. And Emmanuel has improved his pick and roll offense. So yeah.
If I can follow up real quick, is that the next evolution for his game is also attacking closeout as well? Because the scouting report shows that he's a lethal shooter and they look to run him off the 3-point line.
Yeah, I thought he got better at that last year, actually, Dayon. But um, driving, I'll use Marcus Smart when he was a member of the Celtics. Marcus Smart always was one of the best plus minus guys with the Celtics because when he got to the rim, he had Horford or Tatum or Brown or one of their shooters, and somebody eventually was going to come over and have to take him. Once you get in the paint, that means you beat your man. Once you beat your man, you get in the paint, you're going to draw help. So that means we're 4-on-3. We have four where they have three. And if we have proper spacing with our four versus their three, then we're probably two passes away from an open shot. That's where Emmanuel's got to get better. It's not just attacking closeout. That's black and white. But between the lines, attacking closeouts and making good decisions. And then after that, it's making the right play. The right play may be the score. The right play may be the pass, but you've got to learn to make the right play.
Thank you, Dayon. We'll go back to Chris Gardner, please. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, what are your thoughts on the launch or the announcement of the Houston Blue
I
merchandise?
don't know enough about it to comment on it. I haven't heard about it.
We'll go to Cameron Albergo with the Daily Cougar. Cameron, please go ahead.
Hello, Coach. I know you've been doing this for quite some time, but how do you still feel ahead of the season? Do you still have the same anticipations as early in your career?
Yes, every year is a new year. We have a new team. Um, there's a lot of anticipation with how our team will fit together. A lot of you spend a lot of time investing in your team, putting them in the right position so they can have some success, and then getting them in a position to win. But everybody's program is different. The way the coaches coach their team is, I don't think I've ever seen another college team practice, ever. I've seen pro teams practice, high school teams practice, junior colleges practice, but I've never been to another 4-year college. I have no idea how other coaches coach their team, what they do in practice. I only know how I do it. And the way we do it is is how we want our team to play. We practice and try to take that to the court and be prepared for to the best of our ability and just get our kids prepared. There's always going to be something that you wish you'd done better. But, a lot of times the team's weaknesses will be the things that they don't play against. Like we don't zone very much. A&M, I don't think the team was scrimmage zone. I think that was all man. But a lot of the stuff we saw against A&M was the first time we'd seen it at all. We don't three-quarter court trap and fall back into a zone. But Texas A&M did that. So it was good to get that on film, though, so we can work on it because other teams will do it. So, yeah, every year is a new year, new bunch of kids, and I'm excited to coach them and excited to see their progress and see how good they can get.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Cameron. We'll go to Chris Baldwin with Paper City, Houston. Chris, please go ahead.
Hey, Kelvin, how is Jacob doing, and how hard is that to go through as a team and as a coach?
Well, after 40 years of being involved in athletics, I've seen it a lot. It's never fun. I remember going to our locker room at halftime last year in the Toyota Center when our kids had no idea that Terrence had torn his Achilles tendon. And those things usually happen with no contact. He was just jogging down the floor by himself and fell. When he did that, first thing I thought about, that might be an Achilles tendon. So that was traumatic. Because at halftime, I think I don't remember the score, but I think we had a lead. It might have been double figures, somewhere around double figures. And I spent the whole halftime trying to get those guys focused on the game because a lot of them had tears in their eyes because they love each other. I mean, we're a team. You can, on the outside looking in, you can never actually feel what it is on the inside. You can only project. But these guys are extremely, extremely close. I remember going to Oklahoma last year. I think I may get these days wrong, but my intent is in the right place. I think JoJo had surgery the morning after we got to Oklahoma. So it was the game day. And we were doing a Zoom call, or not Zoom call, but FaceTime. With him going into his surgery. So that was tough on him. And then when Jacob had his injury, that was tough on him. But none of these are isolated by themselves. It's just part of basketball. Jamal Shedd probably played more minutes over the last 4 years than anybody. I don't remember him missing a game. He may have. I don't remember. We've had years where nobody's ever gotten hurt. And then we've had years when we've had injuries. So when they happen, there's always an impact it has on these kids because they have such a fondness, and there's a closeness with all teams. And so, I go back to Oklahoma. I had a kid named Eduardo Nahara that played with a fractured fibula. But it was in a place where he wasn't going to do any worse to it. And I didn't even know it until after the game. And then our kids, we were all upset for Eduardo. So, fortunately or unfortunately, whichever the case may be, I've had a lot of experience with these things. Last year, we were in the course of a practice, Ramon going up for a rebound, just 5-on-5, working on something, and somebody falls into his leg, about as fluke as it can be, and we thought we'd lost him for the year. So those are the uncontrollables as a coach you have to react to and handle and then move on down the road.
Thank you. We'll go to Joseph Duarte with the Houston Chronicle. Joseph, please go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning.
Kelvin, now that you're having LJ in second year of your program, what's the next step in the growth that you'd like to see from him this year?
Transfers are usually our guys are better in their second year. Because when the season's over and they're repeating their steps in the summer and the fall, the uneasiness, what's going to happen here, or how's coach going to react in this, or how am I going? All that stuff's out the window. They just feel comfortable. Everybody has to go through. My focus on them, but I move on to the next guy. I haven't really said a lot to LJ. I haven't said a whole lot to LJ. He does things the way I want them done. But LJ has a lot of winning DNA in him, a lot of Cougar basketball winning DNA, like Malik does, J1. JoJo's developing that. Milos is a good player, but he's not a Houston Cougar basketball DNA guy yet. But he's in the same place that LJ was at last year. I think the next step for LJ is to be more of an inclusive leader, impact others with his play instead of playing in a vacuum or a phone booth, as I call it. You got to get out the phone booth and bring somebody with you, impact somebody else. I think that's his next step.
If I could kind of add to Joseph's question, sorry to include, but when LJ first got here last year, one of the things that he said, he came to the program to help develop on ball and as a guard, because he was viewed as more just a spot up shooter. And what have you seen from his development in those areas as well?
Probably the same thing you saw, Dayon. LJ's become a much better player, I think, than every area. Our guys push each other in practice. The guy that he matches up with a lot is Cordell. Cordell guards him pretty good. Cordell pushes him. Cordell guards LJ better than Mercy does, which is why some days I'll put Cordell on somebody and basically tell him, sick him, go get into him, make him uncomfortable. The same. We ain't playing spades and patty cake here now, trying to get better. You don't get better through comfort. You get better through adversity. But LJ's gotten better through practice, which is giving him permission to be good in games. If you're good in practice, you're going to take a confidence level with you in the games. And J1 got here, he didn't know whether he's pitching or catching, but that was 6 years ago. He's gotten better, and even though this is J1's 6th year in college, he just turned 23. It's not like he's 25 or 27. He's a very young. He's the age of, I guess, a 5th-year senior, right? Those guys tend to be 23. But Malik, LJ, J1, Javier, those guys help me coach the new guys. But our guys all develop. I know you guys want to ask certain questions about certain kids, but no, there's nobody that comes through here that doesn't get better. I mean, I don't remember your comments about him a while ago, why he wanted to come here, but a lot of times those guys aren't going to tell you exactly what they tell me. You know, they give you the answers they probably want you to hear. But if I sit down with LJ one-on-one, he's going to say things that, to me personally, that will be different. But LJ is a interesting kid. You know, I see him. You know, my lens is a little bit different how I see these kids. But LJ is he's an interesting young man, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Joseph, do you have a follow-up question, please, sir?
Kelvin, I just wanted to ask, have you had any feedback from Milos on the mask that he's wearing? And, you know, I know it varies, and a lot of guys wear them when they need to for injuries, but anything that, you know, good or bad after playing in A&M, and what his plans may be moving forward with that?
No, I haven't asked him that. I haven't heard him comment on it. I think the plan is to, when he gets confidence and not worrying about getting smacked in the face, he'll probably take it off. But you'd have to ask him that. I don't plan to.
Thank you, Joseph. We'll go back to Chris Gardner, please. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, what are your thoughts on Mo Williams and the job he's doing at Jackson State?
Same as last year. I haven't really watched him this year. I've been focused on us, but I'm sure you asked that same question last year, Chris, and I'd probably give you the same answer. Mo is a tough dude, competitive. He's a worker. He wants to really be good at his job. He's come in here by himself. He's come in here with his staff. He's watched our practices. This is in the past because he wants to get better. And I have an admiration for young guys that are young in this profession, starting off, that is exhausting all possible means to get better. So Mo's going to be a good coach. He's going to be a mover in this profession, and he's a good guy. I've enjoyed getting to know Mo.
We'll go to Ryan Mansa with GoCougs.com. Ryan, go ahead.
Kelvin, Emanuel has talked about getting in better shape, increasing his endurance. Is that
Who's that?
something, Emanuel Sharp?
Oh,
He's talked about getting in better shape. Is that something the staff went to him with that you wanted to see?
yeah. There's certain guys I have to get on. Emmanuel's got one of those bodies that, you know, I don't want to see what he looks like when he's 45, you know, but I don't want him to be 45 when he's 20. You know, he's got, you know, making good decisions. You know, one of the things I've noticed with this NIL thing, you know, we provide these guys meals that are healthy, but now they all got enough money to run the Canes. So I said, look, you know, this NIL thing ain't for you to go spend your money at McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and Canes because you got it. You know, use it for something else, but eat this food. You know, Bishop does a great job of planning these meals. And as soon as these guys get older, you know, when you come here at 18, you're 5 years away from 13. You know, but when they get here at 19, they're 5 years away from 24. So they tend to think of 24 versus 13 when they get here. You know, young and old is separated by thought process, not by age. So Emmanuel has grown up. You know, sometimes these freshmen think they got all the answers. That's why I grab some of them and ask them, do they know my middle name? And they usually say no. And I say, well, good. Now I know you don't know everything. And now you don't know, now you know it too. But I think the guy that we got on the most the previous year was J1. I don't think J1 played his that year in great shape. That was the year we lost to Miami. This year it's been Emanuel. When you go from being a six-man, your role is different, but your minutes are different. Then you go to being a starter. Now, instead of 18 or 14, it's going to be 28 to 32. And that's the reason why. I thought last year he was playing his best basketball at the end of the season. But I thought he struggled early. And our teams, most of our kids, it's I think every program would like for their team to play their best basketball in February and March. But that's the next layer to that is make sure each individual is playing their best basketball. Then the team has a chance. So we just have to stay on Emanuel because he's got a body type that's different than Terrence. Terrence is long and lean, whereas Manuel's a little more stout. Well, the next step for a stout guy is a little bit different than the next step for a lean guy. So sometimes we have to stay on him about that.
Like Jacob McFarland is listed at 6'11". Has he grown more than that?
I have no idea. I don't measure.
Okay.
Thank you, Ryan. We got time for a couple more questions. We'll go back to Dayon Dunlap, please. Dayon, go ahead.
I have a two-part question. First part is about J1. In my opinion, one of his best attributes is his ability to pass and make plays. Will you? Am I still here? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
see you in your prom suit.
That's just regular, coach. I do that on the regular. That ain't
Are
even
you-
prom.
Are you wearing that right now?
No, I'm not wearing that right now. I'm wearing a Lurch Race Coug shirt right now. Have you seen our post-game show?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Is it good?
It's good, coach. You got to tap in one time.
All right, I'm gonna get somebody to help me with that then. I'm not the best at that stuff.
Okay. Now my question was two-part question for J1. In my opinion.
Who do you talk with on your show? What do y'all do?
Chris?
Just go over the game?
Yeah, pretty much. Chris Gardner and Andy Yanez, and we got one of your former players. We got a special announcement coming up this year that is going to add no addition to our team.
Who is it?
It's going to be Rob Gray.
What the hell does Rob Gray know? Where Rob Gray is in Europe.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Rob, ask Rob. I better not bring that one up.
Okay.
Rob, well, does Rob does he watch the games where he is? I mean, I talk to him occasionally, but I know he sees the scores. I just don't know if he sees the games.
Yeah, it's going to be when his schedule permits, because like you mentioned, he's overseas. So it'll be throughout whenever his schedule permits and he actually sees the game.
Yeah, Rob's a smart guy.
Yeah, that's why, of course. But now my question was about J1 and Javier. J1 first, in my opinion, I think one of his underrated attributes and his best attribute is his ability to pass and make plays. Where you guys utilize that even more, allow him to play more to like that mid-post area, focus him more. Then, as far as Javier, I think last year coming into this season, I remember you saying you didn't bring in another big because he needed to play. So what's his outlook on him this season as far as him continuing to grow and just get better?
Well, you kind of answered the question. You asked it, then answered it. So I'll try to add to your answer. Javier has, even when he was a raw, he was really, really raw when we signed him. But we had a plan for him. And, his freshman year, he got to practice with Josh Carlton every day. And I thought that was significant. But I thought the guy that helped him the most in practice, and that's something we emphasize to these kids we're recruiting now, is who they'll be practicing against. And that's one of the strengths of our program is our player retention. So you know that there's going to be guys to help you. I thought the guy that helped Javier the most was Reggie. Reggie actually took Javier under his wing. Sometimes when I'd walk in the gym, Kellen would always already be started his workout with our 4s and 5s at one end. And but Reggie was always in Javier's ear, you know, and Reggie enjoyed that. He was a great resource for those guys because he had been here and knew how to do it. And he enjoyed imparting that wisdom on these new guys. So J1, same thing. And Reggie was really good with J1. But our guys all move and they all move on. Next year we won't have J1 or Javier, and somebody's going to ask me how we're going to replace J1 and Javier, just like they ask how we're going to replace Chris or Bryson or Reggie or Josh or Fabian or Devin or Devontae. We'll replace somebody every year. But I think that's always been our secret sauce, is that we've promoted from within. We've got this young guy that's here working his butt off. He comes to practice every day with the right attitude. He's a joy to coach. And next thing you know, we lose our 5 or our 4 from the previous year, where most programs and most people's thought is, who are we going to get out of the portal? Like this is some kind of Christmas shopping. I could care less about the portal. We've been working when nobody's watching on kids like Javier. And people's thought process, well, he's not good enough. Well, you're not qualified to answer that question. You don't know what you don't know. That's why, thank God, we make the decisions here, not the people on the outside. We saw what Javier was doing every day, and we had to make a decision. Do we trust our player development and trust our eyes, or do we go get a shiny penny? And you know the answer to that. But I do think there's another level for Javier. That doesn't mean he's going to be twice as good. Don't blow stuff up, make people seem like they're better than they are. That's not fair to the kid. But I do think Javier can be more consistent. Sometimes the next level is consistency. Whatever he's done on his best day, he may not be better than that, but he can do it more often. And that's the thing that I focus on with these kids. Stack days, man. Stack good practices. That's what Terrence Arsenal struggled with when he got here. Terrence has gotten better by a byproduct of our practices. If we don't practice the way we practice, guys like Terrence won't be where he is. He has to get better in practice. It's what made Javier what he is today, is confidence. And your confidence comes from your lowest points. You build from that. At some point in this program, you're going to have to get up, because you're going to get knocked down. But you got to get up. You don't judge people by what they do to you. You judge it through the actions that you react to. You react to the adversity by getting up. And I think that's what makes our program what it is. Guys like Javier being at his lowest point, whether it's his freshman year or sophomore year, next thing you know, he's starting on a team that's number 1 in the nation. I think that's what makes our program what it is player development. And that's defined by watching these kids come in as freshmen, and most of our kids do come in as freshmen. It's going to be interesting to watch Mercy's journey and Chase's journey and Cordell's journey. Jacob got knocked down, but Jacob will get back up and he'll get back on his journey. But all their journeys are equally important to me. But senior night, I always think about their lowest moments, because I was there for them. And now I see them on their highest of highs. And that's the thing that I love most about coaching, is seeing these kids develop. And they go from young boys and they leave here as men. But it's a process that they all have to go through. And I'm proud of them for doing it.
Thank you. We got time for one more question before Coach you talk to the TV. We'll go back. Last question of the day. We'll go to Joseph Duarte, please. Joseph, go ahead.
Kelvin, if I could follow up to something you just said, the interesting part of development and the transfer portal. If I'm not mistaken, I believe in the last few years you've probably had less than half a dozen guys that you brought in the portal. The selectiveness there, is it more in your mind for your program geared towards filling that specific need, that hole that you need? Maybe a bridge of gap at point guard, for instance, with Milos and then the younger guys, but just versus teams that maybe just load up and live and do all their shopping, so to speak, in one store, like you mentioned.
What's the question?
Well, no, I just want to say your way of dealing with the portal and how you use it versus, I know that the ability is there to fill an entire roster if you have to that way, but you choose to do it that way just in specific needs. I'm just curious how that works for you and how you view the portal when it comes to just specific needs that you have.
I think the portal is important for everybody. And it's good to know that it's there if you do need it. I mean, we've used it. The year we took I still remember doing this in Indianapolis when we were on that COVID, where each of the, when we got to Indianapolis, I don't know how many teams was, seemed like everywhere you went, saw a team. And then after the first day, there's 32, right? Then after the second day, you get to the next weekend, there's only 16. And then, you win those two, and you get to the Final Four. But I just remember we had so much free time, and Quantas was recruiting Jarris Walker. Kellen was recruiting whoever it was he's recruiting. Coach Brooks was recruiting whoever was recruiting. And it would just be the four of us some nights sitting down in our designated team room where we had our meals and our team meetings and our film sessions and scout reports. And they were kind enough to actually put 2 portable baskets inside that room so we could actually walk through stuff. But in our free time there, all we did was recruit. When by the time we left there, we had already had commitments from Josh Carlton and Kyler Edwards. I don't know when you guys found out, much later, but we knew we had them when we left there. So I was thinking maybe that was the only ones that we would use. But I knew Kyler because we recruited Kyler, and I knew Josh because we played against Josh, and Josh had North Carolina roots, and I knew the people. And I knew the people that knew Josh. I knew the people that knew his father. I knew the people that knew his mother. And he went to DeMatha High School, and I've had friends that go to DeMatha High School. So we vetted these kids like crazy, and we knew what we were getting. There was no guesswork or we hope it works out. We knew exactly what we were getting with Kyler and Josh. The only one that we didn't know as well was Tajay. But Tajay's college coach, Coach Kelvin, is an assistant coach at Oklahoma, Rod Barnes. And when Rod was the head coach at Mississippi, we played there when I was at Oklahoma. And Rod became a good friend of mine. And I hated that Tajay was leaving Rod. So that was a tough conversation. But Rod said, if he's going to leave here, I'd rather him go play for you than anybody else. And so Rod was brutally honest with me about Tajay. So I found out what I needed to find out. And so that portal that year was not watching film and seeing how good they were. I already knew that. To me, was were they going to fit into this culture? Because I don't care who you are and how good you are or what other people say. If you don't fit, you ain't going to come here. And that's our decision. We decide who we recruit, which is why this model has been so sustainable, regardless of who's been here. The baseline with all these kids, they're great kids. They're really good kids. It's not an accident you don't see, knock on wood, you never know what can happen, but you don't see our kids getting in trouble and stuff like that. Those kind of kids would never fit here. And a lot of those kids, some of those kids are like that because most people don't know the kind of kid they are. They just know where they're rated and what other people are saying. But you're not recruiters, you're observers. There's a difference in observing something and being an active participant in it. So for me, the portal is kind of like that game show Millionaire. You know, they give you all these lifelines, right? What's the first lifeline? You can phone a friend, and there's another one I can't remember what it is. So maybe that is the lifeline. That's the only you get 3 phoning friends, something like that, whatever it is. The portal to me is phone a friend. You know, I'm gonna go with our guys until I need to phone a friend. Then I'll go get to the portal. But I hope I can answer the question on my own without phoning a friend. I don't know if that makes sense, but somehow I was
Oh, it makes absolute sense. Thank you.
I was rationalizing that my crazy brain. Sometimes I prove to you guys more that I'm not very smart than I do thinking I know what I'm talking about. So, but if I do, then you shouldn't be surprised, or I apologize.
Well, sometimes you take our really bad questions and turn them into really good answers.
I don't know about that.